Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And I am so excited to be talking with my guest today because she is a very successful women business owner who has excelled in an area that you don't often think of women as even being in. Plus, she gets to spend part of her year in Alaska. And so this is just so much fun. And so please join me in welcoming Sena Wheeler to our program today. Welcome, Sena. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Cool. Well, let me tell people a little bit more about you, and then we'll jump into this. So Sena Wheeler is part of a fifth generation fishing family and the co-founder of Sena Sea, which brings wild Alaskan seafood directly to your door. I got hungry just looking at her website. She is passionate about sustainability, helping busy families eat healthier, and educating people about the brain-boosting benefits of wild fish. She has a master's degree in nutrition and food science with a specialty in quantifying omega-3s in fish and determining preferred handling practices for premium quality. Sena and her husband enjoy running this family business together, spending part of the year in Alaska, and having the flexibility to enjoy watching her children participate in their school sports and, of course, eating and cooking fish. So again, Sena, welcome.
Thanks so much. That's fun. I like that.
I know. It's always so much fun.
I just had a late night track meet from my daughter last night. And I thought, well, that's accurate.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the cool things is, and we'll talk about this more. You are a working mom, but you have the flexibility to really be able to spend time with your kids. But I mentioned fifth generation. I loved looking on your website because it's got pictures of your ancestors, Hans Jangard, right? And from Norway, and I just love this because it is such a multi-generational. But tell us a little bit more about how it is that you got to where you are today.
Well, and I say fifth generation because those are the generations that I, know of.
Right.
But my parents,
they in Norway, they probably fished forever.
Exactly. My parents say 5 generations. You're joking. It's more like 300 because that's what we've been doing. My family was from the west coast of Norway, and that's what they did. They're commercial fishermen. We visited Norway a couple years ago and went to the house that my grandfather grew up in with his 14 siblings. It was amazing. And it was tiny. It was like, wow, okay, kids, look around.
Yeah. But don't complain that you have to share a bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But as they grew up there commercially fishing, and then they immigrated to the U.S. and they landed in Ballard in the Pacific Northwest in Washington State, and that's a real Norwegian immigration point. And as each of the brothers came over, they got another boat, and each brother got another boat, and so they really fished. My grandfather and his brothers fished as a family. They fished together. They actually even pooled their money from the boats and re-split it out. And so they really helped each other out. So when I grew up, my grandfather was fishing. They lived just above the locks. They had binoculars on the window, where you could just, if there's a boat going by, oh, who's that? What are they doing? Oh, they're doing that opener. It was very much. They know every boat and every captain of every boat and who's doing what, and it was definitely the lifestyle. And my uncles fished, and my dad married into it, so it was my mom's family.
Okay.
And then my husband married into it, so it's really interesting because I actually come from a line of fishing wives, and we just go find the fishermen and go make it happen. So, which is a fun perspective for me because it's very fishing is a unique job, but being a fishing wife is also a unique lifestyle just because they're gone and you got to run stuff. And so, as much as I was modeled about fishing, I also watched my mom be a fishing wife and learned how to do that.
Right. Now, you're in Washington and we talk about, most of the time, but your husband is currently right now, as you mentioned earlier to me, up in Alaska. Is this something year round? I mean, are you able to fish year round?
My grandfather fished almost year round. We have the logs, and the boat would go up. It's very classic. A lot of us Seattle Fleet fish in Alaska in the summer. They take the boats up in the summer. So he fished up in Alaska in the summer, and then he would move south, and he fished all the way down to California. And we have fishing logs of him going all the way down to Mexico.
Wow.
So he fished there in the winter, but typically we boats don't do that anymore. And the fishing like for salmon, halibut, black cod, white salmon, and whitefish, it's only open in the summer. So the fishing is seasonal along with the openers. And so typically fishing is all done in the summer, and crabbing is in the winter.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, and your husband, you mentioned, married into it. Was he from a fishing family, or did he just fall in love with you and then have to become a fisherman?
That was just a perk. He was not from a fishing family, but we grew up on the same small island in the Pacific Northwest. And so he knew about fishing and was interested in it. And luckily he took to it, and he does a really nice job of it. So it was something that he was kind of interested in, and he got a chance on my dad's boat. They call it a chance, not a job, because when somebody hasn't fished before, nobody knows how that's going to work out.
Right. And it's a hard life, let's be honest.
Yeah. It's a hard life, and it's a hard job.
Mhm.
Yeah. And my son just left yesterday to head up to Alaska, and he'll be up there all summer.
It is the end of the school year.
Yeah, he's in college, so he gets out extra early. So it's like, okay, now you can go make your money for next year.
Right. I love it. And we mentioned at least fifth generation. You've got three kids. How many of
Mhm.
them do you think are going to say, "Ooh, we want to do this," and or some going to go, "Nope, no, no."
Well, all three of them, they come out, we go up to Alaska, we spend as many weeks as we can, the kids and I, and they've come out on the boat every year. So at least a couple weeks, and it's fun because some years they're more into it than others,
They're
but we
kids.
always go like, well, you can find a job. There's always, everybody has to have a job on a boat, and you can do what you want. We have, our middle daughter likes to cook, and that's mostly because I think on the boat, she was like, any job. Okay, I'll do breakfast.
I want to be inside.
I'll be in the cabin. I'll cook. I said, okay, great, because somebody's got to do that too. So she gravitates towards the cooking. Our youngest, we have our little redheaded daughter, and my husband would be out on. It's an open bow, so really it's one or two guys, but we fit a family of five on there. For salmon, they're smaller boats, but they go fast, and you drive it out on the bow, and you're in the waves, and my husband's out there, and there's spray, and he looks over to our daughter, and she's the youngest, and she's got this grin on her face, and he goes, okay, I know
Here,
who's
here we
gonna
go.
be my
Six.
deckhand.
Right.
So
I
I
love
think
it.
that they've all done it, and they like different aspects. And then, when they're getting ready to buy their first car, all of a sudden Alaska seems appealing because they can make some money. And there's a different aspect to it. Like, oh, okay, this could work. So it's fun to see them just kind of take to different aspects in different ways, and we feel like um we don't have a lot of pressure on whether or not they're going to do it as a living because we feel like they've lived it.
Right, right. And what I love is the example that you're setting. That obviously family is first. And but then there is this business, and and so you're the mompreneur, right? And but yeah, you're setting such a great example for them, and I love that.
Yeah, it's been fun. And then we do farmers markets, and in the beginning we did even more. So we would be up in Alaska fishing, and they help at the processing facility, so they know how to, working on the line. And then they come home, and we go to the farmers markets, and they're selling the fish. They get to see that full chain, and
Right.
and just there's not a lot of businesses where kids can see, touch, feel, and be a part of that entire chain. One day, my son, he was 10 or 11 at the time, and he's pretty charismatic. And I had to use the restroom. I said, okay, you just stand here and,
Hmm.
you know,
Hold the
talk to
fort
people
down.
about fish.
Hmm.
And so I come back,
Hmm.
and there was a man standing there talking to him, and he said, if what this kid says is true, I'll buy it all. He says he caught this fish himself. I said, well, yeah, he did. He just came home from Alaska, and he definitely did have a hand in all this.
Right. Hmm. Well, and I love that they're learning that so young. My husband does bonsai trees. He's retired now, so this is his hobby. And so we went to a bonsai show last week, and there were vendors there, and this one it was a grandpa who did pottery, right, and kind of a variety of things, and he had his grandson there helping him.
Mm.
Yeah, 11, 12. I'm a horrible judge at age with kids like that. And I got near the booth and ma'am, and which I thought was very cute. Ma'am, are there any questions that I can answer for you? And every time I got near him, ma'am, I mean, I'd be walking to the bathroom and but but he was very good at answering the questions. And so of course I started engaging him. I thought, let's see. And so I said, well, what are the pieces that you made? So, he showed and he did little ceramic bugs that you would put
Oh,
right at the base of the tree. Very cute,
cute,
right?
cute.
And so, but yeah, he was just very professional. And and I was looking at his grandpa, and he said, "Oh yeah, he goes and he helps." But then I told my husband, I said, "I have to go over here and buy some bugs," and he's like, "What?" And I said, "I have to go support this young man. He was very professional, very good." And so we bought 3 bugs. And but yeah, it was just so impressive that he at that young age was very professional.
Yeah, it's actually really neat. I think
Hmm.
farmers markets and those
Hmm.
those in-person selling, you
Hmm.
know, I mean, there were times when I maybe just kind of had to bring the kids,
Hmm.
but I also appreciate those years of them really seeing firsthand, because we would be there early in the morning. I said, look around. This is the hardest working
Hmm.
people you're going to see. These
Hmm.
farmers here, they
Hmm.
were out harvesting this morning, and then
Hmm.
they load up their car,
Right.
and then they came here,
Hmm.
and they're going to talk about it
Hmm.
all day, and then they're going
Hmm.
to pack it all
And it
up.
rained on them yesterday, and they were still out there. Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but that in person and that kind of just being able to communicate with adults and sell and talk about things and answer questions, I really am grateful for those years of doing that with the kids in tow.
Right. Hmm. Now, you obviously started on the boat when you were very young, but when did you decide that you were going to make a career of it also?
Well, I had a separate career, what I thought was separate, but I have a master's degree in
Hmm.
food science, and I worked at a food company, non-fish related, and fish was never really my plan. I ended up getting my master's degree on fish just because I knew fish, and that's just how, fish is for me. It's always just like right there. But I worked for about a decade at a national food company, and then I was home with the kids because we had 3 and they were quite young, and we were living pretty rural. So I was home with them. So I've done a lot. I've done,
Hmm.
the full-time
Hmm.
thing, the
Hmm.
part-time thing, the home.
Hmm.
And at that point, Rich was fishing, and he does halibut and black cod, and he was doing salmon, and he was just getting involved in the Copper River Marketing Association. So we fish for Copper River salmon, which is one of the best
Hmm.
salmon out
Hmm.
there. And they have their own like marketing, to make sure that the public knows about the salmon and things like that. And so he was on the board. And so we were driving to Thanksgiving one year, and I think our youngest was about 3. And I'm telling him, and of course I've studied onboard handling techniques and, correlated with sensory and all this stuff. So I've been telling him for years, oh, you have to do this, you have to handle like that, you have, you know, you have to chill it right away, you got to do all this stuff. And so, and then I'm telling him, oh, you guys need to market it like grass-fed beef. You need to tell people this, you need to tell people that. And so finally he just looks over at me in the car and goes, you should. I said, no, you should do this, that, that. He goes, no, you should sell
You
my
have the
fish.
passion for it.
He's like, we both know I'm catching the best fish on the planet. I'm handling it perfectly. I'm doing all these things. I'm doing all that. Why don't you tell people about it and we could sell it? And I was like, oh, okay. And so, but luckily it was a pretty long drive. So 8 hours later, we got to Thanksgiving dinner.
Wow.
We announced that we're starting business. It's called Sena Sea. And I always say kind of the shocking part of the story is then we did it. Within the next couple months, we just because he was going to be leaving. Sometimes you need that deadline because he
Right.
was going to be leaving, and then the fish comes. We were like, okay, well let's do it. And I know fish, so the first thing I did was take a online business course to kind of get that because we were kind of rural and I wasn't doing a lot on the computer and at that moment of my life, I wasn't engaging with entrepreneurs or, selling online like e-commerce or anything like that. So I am very grateful for kind of reaching out and learning those skills because that's been huge. It's like fish, I got that, the rest I got to learn.
Right. Yeah. How do you convince somebody to buy your fish?
Yeah.
So I interviewed a gentleman. This was last year, and he started a coffee business with his 10-year-old.
Oh, wow.
And and I mean, they're at that point they were getting ready to go on Shark Tank and all sorts of things. And and it was very much she would go and do the presentations. He felt very strongly that was going to be a good skill for her to have. But he said, yeah, he had that passion for coffee. You have the passion for fish. And he said, actually making it the business was the hard thing. So did you have to get a facility? Talk us through kind of how you actually made this business become a reality.
Well, I took an online course, which we were living so rural and Rich is gone. And I have 3 kids at home.
So you're doing it at
young.
midnight.
Basically, because our internet was so rural that I could only watch the videos from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. in the morning.
When nobody else was on.
We didn't have the bandwidth, which at the time was just like, okay. And again, that boundary almost helped because now I sort of can take a course and like, oh, I just don't even finish it, right? I'm so busy or whatever. But at that point, I was like, I'm going to have to get up at 6 in the morning to watch this video and do the workbook before I lose the bandwidth to do it. And so having that kind of boundary of like, okay, this is how it's going to have to get done really helped. But we went through all the steps and, we built the website and I still remember, we got the website out and, it's like e-commerce was the concept and, because we're rural, so there's not a lot of people out there.
Right.
And we get the website, we open a bottle of champagne that night, cheers. It's like, we really did it, and we're like, okay. And then it's crickets. I mean, building a website, as hard as that is it's just the first
easy
step.
part. You got to get people there.
Yes. Getting people to the website is the part that takes some, doing. And so it's fun to look back and realize, we just did it. But first was building the site, and then we were just renting out a very small space with a freezer. I had a folding table where I would put up my printer and I would print labels and pack the fish. And, now we have a huge warehouse with a big freezer and things like that. And so, but, you have to start somewhere. And I'm actually grateful for those days when it was, in the beginning, I sort of had this like vision, like, oh gosh, like you just want to skip the 10 years of
Mhm.
learning and just move
Right.
on to being the big shots,
Mhm.
and I was like, I had this vision like, oh, if Oprah would just, try our fish and put
Mhm.
us on,
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
you
Right.
get that
Mhm.
magic bullet and
Mhm.
my favorite things. Okay,
Mhm.
great. And I think now I think, oh, I am so grateful
Mhm.
that didn't happen because it took time to
Mhm.
learn how to ship
Mhm.
frozen fish,
Right.
how to
Mhm.
have your systems going, how to do it right.
Mhm.
And those early learning times, they
Mhm.
it feels like, oh, things are going slow or whatever. And all the times that I've felt like that, I've looked back and gone, well, thank goodness we only had 15
Mhm.
customers on day one because we didn't
Right.
know how to ship
Mhm.
frozen fish.
Mhm. Mhm.
We had
Right.
to learn.
Right.
So I think, those early days feel kind of like uncomfortable, or you're
Mhm.
figuring this out, or this
Mhm.
isn't happening. But now that we're 10 years in, it's much easier to look back with patience and
Right.
hindsight and go,
Right.
yeah, I'm glad that we took the time and learned those skills in the beginning. I have an email
Mhm.
list that is very important way of how we sell.
Okay.
And in the beginning, there was 40 friends and family on the list, and
Mhm.
and I didn't worry about how bad my emails were.
Right. Because it was friends and family. Mhm.
They would still love me, and so those things of looking back, like
Mhm.
now people with a list sometimes are
Mhm.
like, I'm nervous to write emails. I don't know what to write about. And it's like, well, I got to cut my teeth on that
Mhm.
when it was low stakes
Mhm.
and I didn't have to
Mhm.
worry about it. So I am grateful for
Mhm.
those kind of low
Mhm.
times.
Right. And you do, you ship nationwide. Do you ship outside the United States or?
We just ship in the US,
Okay.
but we do ship nationwide overnight, but we use dry ice to keep the fish
Mhm. Mhm.
frozen,
Mhm.
top quality. And
Mhm.
so unfortunately, it's hard. It's
Mhm.
dry ice is hard to go. It's
Right.
hazardous material, so
Mhm.
it's hard
Mhm.
to go outside the
Right.
country.
Right. Well, and obviously it's longer, and and you don't dare have any you don't want to worry about, hey, this is going to thaw out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Our
And
mission
Mhm.
is to bring the most
Mhm.
premium quality that we're kind of always been spoiled with being a fishing family. So we're trying to get that premium quality.
Mhm.
So just getting there, that doesn't cut it.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's got to get
Right.
there in perfect
Mhm.
condition.
Mhm. Right. And but at the same point, this is your legacy. I mean, 5+ generations. What does that mean to you?
That means a lot. And, I was looking back on one of our first kind of emails that we'd written about us, and we put right on there, every package has our name on it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Sena is my name.
Mhm.
It has my husband's
Mhm.
picture on it. I mean,
Mhm.
every piece of fish
Mhm.
has our name on it.
Mhm.
And that really means something to us. That is us saying we are
Mhm.
going to stand by this. We do everything in our power to bring you the most premium piece
Mhm.
of fish. And we're not here to bring mediocre fish to everybody. We're here to bring the best
Mhm.
fish to
Right.
those that we
Mhm.
can.
Right. And obviously that's going to be a more premium price.
Hmm.
And that's okay. You're not trying to sell, 100, million packages to Walmart.
Exactly.
And so, and I love it. I'm looking on the site right now. You're getting ready to, people can place pre-orders. But it is a seasonal business. So
Hmm.
what the heck are you doing in like November?
Good question. Well, we do freeze our fish. So we freeze up in Alaska. So we
Mhm.
have a small processing
Mhm.
facility up there, and we premium freeze, and
Mhm.
we wrap each portion
Mhm.
in parchment and vacuum
Mhm.
seal. So
Mhm.
they stay good for a full year.
Wow.
So we actually stock the freezer
Mhm.
all summer, and that's a challenge
Mhm.
because you get what you get
Mhm.
wild fishing.
Right.
The fish
Right.
come, and it's
Mhm.
a big year, it's a small
Mhm.
year. You kind of get what you
Mhm.
get, and we stock up the
Mhm.
freezers, and then
Mhm.
like for that magic
Mhm.
amount, I don't know how my husband just has it. He's very intuitive, and I just let
Mhm.
him stockpile it away, and it always ends up we sell it all winter. And so
Wow. Mhm.
come spring we just went through, we're kind of like, is the touchy part where it's like, okay, well, we're out of this, but we do have this. And then we guide our customers on, okay, this is still available, but this isn't.
You can pre-order this.
Right. And so we're basically, our goal is, in April, we want to run out of everything
Right.
because once the new year starts, we'll start fishing. Then we're going to be shipping, the next year's salmon. So with the salmon, yes, on the site right now is pre-order. The end of May, we start fishing for the Copper River opener, which is a big deal. It's the first commercially available salmon run. So up until we fish for that Copper River salmon, there's no salmon available on the planet that's wild. You can have farmed salmon is farmed all the time. But if it's wild, it's been frozen. If you see it in the grocery store and it looks fresh, it was frozen.
Right.
Until
and a lot of
the end
times
of
you
May.
can tell by the color, right?
Yeah.
And now, okay, I buy that, because I like salmon, but I also know, okay, no, this is something that has been there for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would take, wild frozen salmon over farmed, and we eat frozen salmon all winter long. I just prefer to defrost it right before I cook it. I don't even defrost it overnight. I like to do it an hour. I do it in cold water right before I cook it because
put it in the bowl.
Yep. The time in the refrigerator at refrigerated temp, for fish, it's just time temperature and it's just ticks away. And so when I go to the grocery store, I'm like, well, but you did that a couple days ago. Now I got to eat it right away. Now I'm on your schedule.
Right. Yeah. And especially with fish, right? You don't want it to sit. And of course I'm having to defrost it because I don't know what I'm fixing until, an hour or so before.
That's how I work.
Yeah. But yeah, it's one of those things where you want fresh and and obviously that's very important to you but the kind of maybe the bigger thing is sustainability. So talk to us a little bit about that. Now, I am from the mountains of Colorado. I know how important it is to manage especially animals and things like that so that you still have them. I have farmers in my family, and so I also know how important it is that you don't overuse the land, overplant, right? I'm in Georgia now where they, damage the land by doing too much. And so talk to us about the sustainability of fishing.
Yeah, so that's where wild fish kind of comes into play. And I know that it's a hard concept for people. I mean, the way I explain it kind of almost flips it on its head because some people are kind of taught by maybe fish farming companies that, hey, let's take the pressure off the wild stock and eat farmed fish. But in reality, when you go to the store, and I have people I talk to that actually have guilt over buying wild fish because they feel like when they buy that,
still should be wild.
Right. Or like, yes. And like when they purchase that, they're saying, yes, we need more. And so the fisherman goes out and gets more. Like, oh, but the more we buy, the more the fisherman has to go and catch more. But it's really does not work like that. It's much the opposite with commercial fishing and domestic. I'm speaking about United States domestic wild caught fishing is highly, highly regulated.
Right.
And
because
so
they don't want to do any of it, whether it's fish, wildlife, whatever it is.
Exactly. And especially in the state of Alaska, it's written into their own state's constitution on sustainability because that's their industry and they want to keep fishing. Fishing families, fishermen are highly conservation minded because they want to keep fishing. That's their lifestyle. So it's much the reverse where, say, salmon, for example, it returns, there's fish counters in the river, upriver. And so the fish are being counted as they spawn and return. And the commercial fishing only opens if and when those target numbers are being hit. And they're being counted. We have about 2 openers a week, only if the target numbers are being hit. and then it opens for 12 hours or 24 hours. The higher the numbers, the more fishing is available. But this system makes sure that the return is there first. And so then the fishing industry is fishing on the abundance after that.
Right.
That is different every year. And so I feel like for people, when you see it at the store, some years if it's a little light, you might not see it at the store.
Right.
If
It's
we
going to
have
cost you more is
yeah,
usually
it'll
what
be a little
happens.
more expensive. So when you see it, one year it's a little cheaper or there's more available. That just means the abundance, so
Right.
when you see it at the store, you're seeing kind of the abundance after, return and
Right.
things like that. And then I let people know when you invest in that, it might be a little bit more expensive. But when you invest in that, you're investing in this system
Right.
that makes sure that these wild fish have these pristine rivers to return to. So, anyways, I'm going to probably get off my
No,
soapbox.
that's all right. Yeah, that's what I grew up with. I mean, and so yeah, I mean that's the thing is and we all, oh yeah, we're saving it for future generations. We are. I mean, we
Mhm.
have to do that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we have to make
First, we have
sure
to
that
do it
we're
first, not
Mhm.
like, oh, the
Mhm.
extra,
Right.
first is the future generations.
Right. Right. And it is a complicated process. I mean, my I grew up, like I said, in Colorado. My father was a game warden. And and so the number of wild game, elk and deer and eventually moose, it was very tightly managed to make sure that there was not an overkill. And then of course you have that little thing called Mother Nature, you know,
Yeah.
who on occasion is just going to totally mess stuff up. And in Alaska it could be, same with Colorado, too much snow, not enough snow, too cold, all of those various things. And it happens with everything. I saw something on the news the other day that there, and they hopefully were exaggerating, but maybe not. There will be no Colorado peaches this year, and the peach crop on the western slope is huge,
Wow.
because they had late frost.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, it's interesting, because here in Georgia, like we see the big fans, right, that are helping the heat and things like that. But yeah, I mean, you can do all the planning you want, and Mother Nature goes,
Oh, yeah, that's what I joke because,
Mhm.
the orchardists and the farmers, I mean, they have a natural, disaster or it rains or it freezes. I mean, it's sad because they have to see it happen. For us, for fishermen, we're the most optimistic crowd because every year everyone's, oh, it's gonna be great because, we really don't know.
Right,
We
right.
just wait and see. We don't know till the nets
Mhm.
go in and we see what happens. So.
Mhm. Right. And yeah, I mean, you really don't know. And I think that has got to be a challenge running a business that is guided by Mother Nature. So how can you plan for it? I mean, what do you do?
That's a big part of what we have found and I would say kind of what we've built is a very personal business and I used a lot of email marketing
Mhm.
and I have found it's a really great way for us to tell our story, but to be really authentic and real and have this um conversation with
Mhm.
our customers. So we have the best customers around
Mhm.
and they're very understanding and we let them know, on a year that's like, hey, this is going on, this is a little low.
Right.
For one thing, get it now or stock
Mhm.
up, or here's
Mhm.
this available. But we let people know we have had, we had a disaster year. Um, 6 years ago and we had pre-sold some
Oh
Copper River
no.
King. We're
Mhm.
pre-selling right now and we're really careful about keeping the numbers,
Mhm.
what we're really confident
Mhm.
we'll catch. But
Mhm.
we just had a year where
Mhm.
we weren't able to open. The fish
Mhm.
returned and they spawned, but we
Mhm.
weren't able to um,
Mhm.
fish it for, this big
Mhm.
period of time where when we had pre-sold against it
Mhm.
and it was really hard. But we just were really honest with our customers and let them know what's going on. And, we have Copper River sockeye and here's what we're going to do. And here's our plan for next year. And and you're thinking, oh gosh, what's going to happen? And a lot of our customers were like, thank you. I appreciate knowing what's up. And I don't want to buy something that isn't abundant this year. I can't wait for next year. And, let me know when it's a great year. But just having that dialogue, I just feel like if we've been marketing as kind of this, fish store, we always have it, then it would be this
Right.
huge disruption when we don't. But being very authentic and open with this is how it goes, this is what it's like, then I think that our customers are really understanding when every now and then when things don't go the way we
Right.
plan them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just a matter sometimes of too much snow, not enough snow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And really, that's a guess.
Last year things were just late because the river was still iced up.
Right.
And if it's icy, it was like immediately, it's like the fish could smell it. It's like iced up. The fish weren't coming. And then the ice melts and it comes down the river and boom, those fish started moving. It's
Right.
just, it's incredible how many triggers there are in nature that we have no control over.
Right. Yeah, we were talking before we started recording that we were in Alaska the end of May, and it was still cold. I mean, it was a late spring.
Yeah.
And for us that was really good because we got to see a lot of things that in some cases you might not,
Yeah.
and some things like that. But yeah, I mean, you really don't know. And then the next year, I mean, it could have, I haven't looked to see what it is like this year, but yeah, I mean, it really could be something just, and I mentioned I'm from Colorado. I mean, they are a good 14 inches low on snowpack. That's
Wow.
big. I mean, that
That's
is
big.
really big.
Yeah.
And I think so many times people don't understand, okay, well, it's not snowing in the mountains. What does that have to do with 1,000 miles away? Well, where do you think that
Matters.
water comes from?
Yeah.
And and that I think is a challenge. But I love that you've got such a loyal client base that they're like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
we appreciate that you kept us posted and let us know when we can order.
Right. And then we've also figured out ways to utilize all of the fish. So, we're kind of ready to be nimble and, we scrape the backbone of the salmon and things like that. And so when those fish do come, it's like, oh, nothing's being wasted.
Right. I love that. And some people might go, ooh, at that, but that is nature's way, right? And it used to be and still is in many, when you hunt, when you fish, you use every part of it. And that's just, and there's lots of different things. I mean, like, people who, make soup using, bones.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's just part of that. And that is, again, that's part of that sustainability. Is let's not waste anything.
Yeah. Fully utilizing every bit of it. And that's why if you go on our site, we catch about 5 or 6 different species, but you'll see about 45 different products.
Right. Right. And it's funny. I have not shopped yet. But yeah, I need to look at that and it is, and then of course you've got this really great thing called recipes. And so is it fun developing new recipes and because that is kind of your background also. And kind of coming up with like I said, salmon chowder. I'm gonna have to try that. That's that definitely looks good.
Salmon chowder is really good, and we've been developing it. We have someone producing it, but the first thing when I took it home, and the first taste testers are my kids, and they said,
if a picky kid will eat it.
Yeah, exactly. My kids loved it, and they were like, "Oh, I'm immediately back at the campfire." Because we do big winter parties where everybody's wearing in the snow, and I do a big pot of salmon chowder, and and around the fire, and so they were like, they were immediately transported back to the campfire. I said, okay, Nailed it. That's all you need to tell me.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
got
This
it
one's
then.
going on the list. Right. Right.
But that's the recipe part is just fun, and of course, we have the fish and I'm cooking it up for the family.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the recipes is a lot of just what I'm doing anyways. It's just another glimpse into the lifestyle and
Mm-hmm.
our actual real life. I just write up
Mm-hmm.
recipes. I do in
Mm-hmm.
quotation because it's just
Mm-hmm.
me cooking. I just write
Right.
up what
Yeah. A
I
little of
do.
this, a little of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And because
Mm-hmm.
people like to have
Mm-hmm.
some confidence around cooking it. And so but it's fun. I'm really just making dinner. If I really want good photos, I gotta make it a little earlier in the day because you need the good light.
Yep.
But it's just an extension of what we do, and we're eating the fish all year round, and we're trying this and trying that. So I might as well take a picture and just let people know, here's what we're doing these
Mm-hmm.
days. I went into a massive pesto phase. I was like, oh my gosh, every
Mm-hmm.
recipe on this
Mm-hmm.
site is pesto right now.
I love it. I love it. Now, speaking of that, though, are there times where like I need a burger, I need pizza, I
Oh,
need
sure.
not fish?
I trade fish for meat also. I have friends, that have cow, and so we trade, and we go to the farmers market. So we have a lot of other fish and
Mm-hmm.
meat. And so, when we have company over, I have learned, and my dad told
Mm-hmm.
me, they came over a few times when Rich and I just got married, and we served them pork or something. And
Mm-hmm.
my dad was like,
Um,
you're a fishing family now, and when people come over, they're
yes.
gonna expect fish dinner.
Mm-hmm.
You might as well embrace that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really the beginning of Sena Sea, I feel like, because it's like just realizing, oh, us as a family and that we're a fishing family, that is what people expect when they come over. And we have people, we entertain a lot, and we have people come and stay all the time. And I always night one fish dinner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
And then we eat something else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we back to the fifth generation. It's all dudes, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
and fishing industry in general is very male oriented. You've been very successful as a woman, so talk to us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. For one thing, I think I'm confident talking about fish and fishing because my dad did it, and because I went out on his boat when I was young, and I've gotten my hands dirty. I've fished. I've done it,
Mhm.
and so that really helps me feel confident, even though it's not my profession. I don't do it
Mhm.
all the time.
But I mean, we always use the word authentic, but
Right.
it is. I mean, when you're talking about it, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I feel like it's actually kind of our secret sauce. I mean, we are up in Alaska. We run the custom processing facility. There's other fishermen that also sell their fish and their catch.
Mhm.
But 90% of the time they are trying to do it themselves. And the simple fact is they're out on the
Mhm.
boat fishing.
Mhm.
It's very hard to do it all
Mhm.
at the
Right.
same
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
It's hard to build a
Mhm.
site and sell and keep
Mhm.
track of
Mhm.
orders and do all of that when you're actually out fishing and doing it. So I think part of our secret sauce is the fact that Rich is out doing it.
Mhm.
I have been on the boat, so I'm comfortable
Mhm.
talking about it
Mhm.
and, understand enough about it to talk about it because just talking about it turns out is a
Mhm.
full-time job.
Right. Mhm. Mhm. Right.
And
Right.
so it is really
Mhm.
interesting, but and that's the first thing he says
Mhm.
when these guys come to him and go, "Well, how'd you do it?" He said, "Well, because
Mhm.
we're a team because
Mhm.
my wife and I do it together, and it really does
Right.
it takes two, it takes both perspectives, and it takes all those man hours of
Mhm.
two people."
Mhm. Mhm. Right. Right. So I have family who own a vineyard, and they produce a lot of their own grapes and things, but they buy some from others and they sell their grapes. Do you buy other people's fish? Is it 100% you? And
Yeah, we
obviously
do.
some.
We started with just our fish, and in the very early times, and since then we still fish, but we also have we were having our fish cut at a small processing facility. We bought the processing facility, so now we get fish from other fishermen as well. So we fish. We also buy from other fishermen, which of course my husband knows every single one of them.
Right.
Other small family fishermen, and we cut fish for us. And sometimes we cut fish for them to sell their own fish, because it's very hard in Alaska to find somebody to cut your fish for you. It's a lot of really big processors, and they don't want to keep track of that.
Right.
And for us, that's really important. It's really important for a fisherman to
This
be
is
able to
Bob's.
have,
These come
yeah,
from Bob.
this is his fish, and he wants to, give it to his family or sell it or do whatever he wants with his fish. And he chilled it really well, and he took really good care of it. And so, by being able to separate like that and keep track of the fish and, keep the quality really high, it's like the fishermen have when you're going to get your own fish back, then you have ownership on that, and it keeps the quality really high. So, but as far as I know, I don't know of anybody else that actually fishes and does the processing, the cutting, and all of that.
Right.
And then we run our own site, and then from Washington State, I ship it out. So I have one warehouse guy, and we pack the boxes. So from catching to packing boxes, we have our hands on the entire system. And a lot of people do a lot of different bits of that, but I don't know of anybody that does
Right.
the entire thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a major undertaking to be able to do all of it.
Well, yeah, and I know why nobody else does it.
It's a major
It's a lot of
undertaking.
work.
I love it. I love it. But it's obviously very challenging, and clearly you love it. I mean, this is your passion. What are some of the other rewards that you have seen?
Our biggest and most unforeseen reward it's definitely our connection with our customers. And to me, it kind of makes me laugh because, for one, I saw myself as not a writer, definitely not a writer. I didn't even want to write in birthday cards. And I kind of write now as my job. I write about fishing. And I wanted to sell our fish online because, we're rural, but also like, oh, I'm just gonna have these transactions in the night. I'm not like
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a business that is going 24/7.
Yeah,
Which is
it's just
great.
going, it's on the site. But I really did not foresee the connections with our customers being online and national in scope. But I have customers that are ordering, that have ordered with us for years. And we're talking and we're communicating. And because my emails are fairly personal, they feel like they know enough about us, but they're also responding. And, I know so and so, and he's got a huge tomato garden, and he buys fish, and, he loves this type. And there's people that buy fish this type of year or this time of year, and they're going to reach out to me or ask, what they should do. And I had a customer just this morning, I'm going to have a dinner party when the Copper River King opens. I pre-ordered some. I'm going to have a small dinner party. Should I do crispy skin or should I do barbecue? And I said, I sent him the recipe of I call it my dad's controversial no flip recipe for the grill. And so I sent him that. It has all my dad's rules for grilling. But that connection with our customers is definitely, I didn't realize that having an online business could have that much connection.
You mentioned your dad. Is he still participating in any way? Because I don't believe he has passed. Is he still participating?
He's alive, and he participates behind the scenes. So
Okay.
he's done fishing. He's retired, and he retired actually quite a while ago. And he's enjoying a rather wonderful retirement. I'm very jealous. But he actually went to the UW and got his degree was in communications and marketing.
Oh, okay.
And then he fished. And so he never really used that in a formal sense in a job. And so he just loves the way we sell our fish, and he just gets a huge kick out of it. And he reads every email that I write, and when he really likes it, he sends me a grade. He grades them.
Ooh, I love it. Does he ever say, no?
He's
This
very
gets a
nice
C.
about it.
This one's got a C.
It's
Mhm.
very nice
Mhm.
because he only sends it when the grades are good.
Okay. Well, so then do you think, uh-oh, and do you go back and look at the ones that yeah, and think, what did I miss?
In the beginning, he was really great in the beginning, and he'd send me messages,
Mhm.
he responds to them, and he
Mhm.
says he says, "I need to feel more salt spray in my face."
Okay, okay.
You know, like,
Tell the
come
story
on,
more.
tell it,
Mhm.
bring
Mhm.
it to life for me. And so especially in the early years, he did really kind of help me find my
Mhm.
voice and
Mhm.
my confidence talking
Mhm.
about um fishing, because who else
Mhm.
would, right? Who
Right.
else would
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I mean, your husband, obviously, but yeah, it was truly in your dad's blood.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's been really fun. He loves
Mhm.
to kind of talk us up, and it's like the new iteration of how to fish
Mhm.
and sell fish and do this, so I think he just really likes being, kind of following along
Mhm.
and being a part of it. And I have a couple of his blog posts and recipes on
Mhm.
the site too.
Ooh, I love it. See, I'm gonna have to look more at this and just see because I just think this is so much fun. Um, now you mentioned the fishing wives. What do they do? It sounds like usually very involved. They're just not the ones that are going out.
Yes, fishing wives are very involved. I call
Mhm.
it, it's like people ask, "Do you want to be called a fisher woman or this and that?" I said, "We like to be called a fishing family because
Mhm.
every single one of us
Right.
is, it's not just that my husband's a fisherman,
Mhm.
we're all a part of it. And even down to my kids, they
Mhm.
live a fishing
Mhm.
lifestyle
Mhm.
because he's a fisherman. So
Right.
to us, it's about being a
Mhm.
fishing family. And
Mhm.
it's kind of ironic.
Mhm.
I don't have that much connection with a lot of other fishing wives because
Mhm.
they're very busy too.
Right. Yeah, they don't and I'm going to put this in my little air quotes. They don't have time to socialize. Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
fishing wives are usually running a house and
Mhm.
raising the kids
Mhm.
and really doing a lot. And so
Mhm.
I think it takes a special person, but it's also it kind of cracks me up
Mhm.
because of course there would be a lot of
Mhm.
connection if we were ever able to get together.
Mhm. Right, right. You can share war stories.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I'm also getting the impression that it is a very tight community.
Yeah,
You're
for
you're
sure.
there to support each other. And like you said, you help them and you do things, but yeah, it is very much, it is a very close community.
Yeah, in Cordova and
Mhm.
Alaska, where my husband fishes
Mhm.
out of, it's a very close community. And even though we don't live there full time,
Mhm.
we go every summer, and
Mhm.
so people know our kids because they're walking around. My favorite is to go down on the very first
Mhm.
opener. It's a huge deal. I mean, the whole
Mhm.
community has
Mhm.
been getting ready for the opener. I
Mhm.
mean, if they don't
Mhm.
fish themselves, they might,
Mhm.
work on boats or sell
Mhm.
supplies.
Mhm.
So the whole community is ready for this opener, and then the boats go out at all different
Mhm.
times because everybody's got a special
Mhm.
spot and they spend the night
Mhm.
out on the anchor and
Mhm.
things like that. But when it's over, it
Mhm.
goes 7 a.m. to
Mhm.
7 p.m. So when it's done,
Mhm.
all the boats come back in. It's about a 4 hour drive in. And so then the families are out kind of
Mhm.
right outside the marina where you get the view of all these boats returning
Mhm.
home and they're cheering.
Oh, how
It's
fun. Mhm.
it's really a neat
Mhm.
thing because you
Mhm.
get that family aspect that no, it's not just the guy on the
Mhm.
boat. It's the
Mhm.
entire community,
Right.
rallying around this.
Right. Well, speaking of the community, how much is the native community involved? With the native Indians and Eskimos and how much are they involved in some of this?
They're involved, and I'm probably not the biggest expert, but in this commercial industry,
Mhm.
um, you know, it's a permit. If you're going to fish, you have a permit. And so they have a permit if they're going to fish. So they're very much a part of the community. And, fishing, there's subsistence fishing also for if you're an Alaskan resident. So anybody that is a resident to Alaska also has some fishing that they can do to stock their freezer, because in Alaska that is a lifestyle. And then but the native community is very connected, and there's a lot of events where they are making sure that they give salmon and fish to the elders in the community and things like that. Make sure that their lifestyle is the way it should be around salmon.
And that circles back to the sustainability part too. They're very much the stewards of the land, as are you.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. So, well, oh my gosh, we've only got a couple minutes left. This is so much fun, and I'd love it. We would move up there if it wasn't dark so much.
I know. You just come for this summer.
I know. And we've been fortunate with the times that we've been up there. It has been summer. But it's kind of weird when, at 10 o'clock at night, it's still daylight.
Oh yeah, it's a different vibe, and that's it's great for fishermen because you can work around the clock.
Right. Yeah. Well, but that does you have to. You have to work those really long hours because you have fewer hours. I mean, you aren't out fishing in December,
right?
And so you might be working 20-hour days.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of, it's the summer hours up there, it might be 4th of July. And it's like, if fishing's open, people are fishing, like you got to make the hay when the sun's out.
Yeah. So, well, oh my gosh, Sena, this really has been so much fun. And I'd love to have you on again, because I think this is just so informative to folks. But for people who are like, okay, I think I need to order some fish. We'll have a link, obviously, to your website, but tell us a little bit more about that process.
Well, I would say come see us online, senasea.com, senasea.com. And I like to tell people, jump on our email list. I know I've talked about it a bit, but that's where I'm at. That's where I'm connecting with our customers real time. And basically, I will walk you through it. So if you go, well, I don't know what to buy and I don't know what season it is and I'm not sure what to do, jump on our email list and I will walk you through it and I will tell you when to buy what and how to cook it.
I love it. And I think that's the thing. People are like, I don't know how to cook it. And you certainly don't want to have an expensive piece of fish that you ruin.
Right. That's people's biggest fear. And I often tell them, it's like buying a really good steak. The higher the quality, the less you have to do.
Right.
You buy a really good steak, sear it on each side and call it good. And same with fish, you actually have more of a buffer. It's probably going to be good no matter what you do.
Right. I love it. And like we said, you've got recipes, you've got all sorts of things. I am going to have to try the salmon chowder. And I love that. But yeah, this really has been so much fun, and it's been a delight getting to know you and your legacy and everything. And so I think this is great. But as I said, we'll have you on again. But until then, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
Oh boy, that's kind of fun. I think I'm going to circle back to just to all the entrepreneurs out there, just jump in before you're ready. And embrace the beginning part, embrace the learning, because you have to do the learning before you get the big break. You don't want to get the big break before you do the learning. So just kind of embracing the process of that.
Oh, so much fun. Well, I'm Deb Creer. I've been speaking with Sena Wheeler, the co-founder of Sena Sea. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.